games, brains, and headbanging life. And it is time. We have done 10 things we love and hate about the Blair Witch Project. We have done 10 things we love and hate about Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2. And we are now at the third film in the franchise, Blair Witch, released in 2016. So I'm going to preface this 10 things we love, because we will have 10 things we hate, and we'll get in a lot more detail then on that video. But I have to preface this by saying I hate this movie. No, and this is very important. I hate this movie. And I hate it for one simple reason. I don't think it's a badly made movie. I don't think it's necessarily the worst found footage movie I've ever seen or anything like that. I hate it because it came out in 2016 and learned nothing, and took no lessons from the found footage problems we've had since then. It looked at the original and went, okay, well, we can do that and up it in a little way here and there by using things like drones and all that. But we will make the same mistakes that make people hate those movies. We will look at the success of the Paranormal Activity franchise and everything that came from that and go, nah, fuck it. We're going to stick with shaky cameras and bugger all else. Yeah. That's why I hate it. I hate it because it added nothing to the Blair Witch franchise. And for me, openly detracted from the quality. I think Blair Witch 2016 is worse than Book of Shadows. Yeah. And it's simply because, well, as bad as Book of Shadows is, at least they tried to do something different.
Yeah, as we discussed before, with a storyline that made sense, you would get ghoulish tourists that would go to something like this and buy into all the merch and everything else like that. That makes sense. What they did with it, overall, wasn't great, but at least they tried to do something with what would happen, what that film would cause a phenomenon. Play on that. So yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I find this is the second time I've now seen Blair Witch, and it will probably be the last time. I can see no reason why I would watch this film again. This is the last of the content we're ever going to do for it. So yeah, let's try and pull 10 things we love each from Blair Witch 2016. Now I'm going to start with almost a contradiction to what I said about Book of Shadows, but I'll explain as I go on. Okay. I love that this is a direct sequel to the Blair Witch Project, ignoring Book of Shadows. Yeah. The reason being is simply because Book of Shadows was a mess. Don't get confused by me thinking Book of Shadows at any stage is a good film. It's not. It's a fucking shocker. Yeah. An absolute shocker. Really is. But by doing this and ignoring Book of Shadows' even existence, you uncomplicate things. You remove a lot of unnecessary knots and threads, and it's just like, here's this and here's that. Yeah. And we don't have this in the middle. Call that a side story if you want, a side quest. Yeah. That's sensible. That's smart. It's way easier, and it doesn't mean you have any head-scratching moments where you're like, well, how does that connect to what happened in Book of Shadows? Yeah. You've got none of that. You haven't got to worry about it. Yeah. I like the different time dimension idea.
Okay.
I thought that was quite, because I always found it quite creepy in films when they've used that aspect of it, and when it's kind of brought to light, I'm like, oh, I don't like the idea of that. Yep. Kind of like being different. I know it's a different film, but Grave Encounters, where they feel like they're in the same.
Oh, the loop.
A loop. Yeah, sorry, that's a different kind of word. Like a loop is quite creepy, I find.
We double up. However, I'm going to start by saying never, ever again, ever utter Grave Encounters.
Oh, yes, sorry.
A great found footage horror in the same breath as Blair Witch. Because that dares to suggest there's some comparative element. I think Grave Encounters, while flawed movies in the found footage realm, is one of the best found footage movies you can see.
It was just referencing the loop. Yes.
But I have it as well. For me, the best idea this film has, the only good idea it has, is the time moving differently. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm doing it already. I'm already doing the thing where I'm going to go, why it's shit. Yeah. But no, I'll save that. The time moving differently for others is the best idea this film has. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the dark. I like the way it looks depressing and dismal. There was like a sheen to the camera, so it was dark. So you get the idea that if you think about this forest, there's nothing nice about this forest and the things surrounding it. What happens to it?
We kind of double up. Mine's more simply, I think the woods, stylistically, do actually feel quite oppressive. It's very tight, very confined, very dark and gloomy. Yeah. Good. I'll buy that one. I'll buy that one. Look at us. Really? Positive stuff.
I know.
Yeah.
My next one. Having the house was a good way to remind you it was Blair Witch, so grounding it.
All right.
I am grasping at things here.
It's your things.
Yeah. So I'm grasping. I had that as something to base it in the Blair Witch lore. And it's like, oh yeah, that happened in the first film and the second one. Yeah.
It is. It's a connection. It's
Yeah.
a connecting line. It's a thread.
Yeah.
No worries. I don't have it.
No.
The general concept. So it's a double thing, kind of, but just one. The general concept isn't a bad one. The idea that we would connect the dots by the older sibling or the younger sibling of Heather from the original wanting to find out what happened to her. Fine. Don't mind that. And the idea of a sequel isn't a bad one.
Yeah.
Very strong belief that none of the Blair Witch sequels now have properly explored the fucking lore. So, again, the idea of a Blair Witch sequel is not a bad idea. I don't think it's dead. No. I don't think, I'm not one of those don't bother because it's been too long. Or anything. No, you've got stuff.
Yeah.
We just need the right person to come along with the imagination to capture what that was and follow a thread where it's okay, let's explore this lore.
Make it worthwhile, yeah.
Yeah. So, overall, the idea and the concept isn't a bad one. Yeah.
I liked the injury, so her foot injury. It just had another aspect of them being stuck. So obviously they're lost, every shit's happening, and someone's injured. I always like that extra layer of peril.
Okay.
That went down, and it looked pretty disgusting. So manky foot.
Well, as you've said, manky foot. I'll do this next one, which is mostly practical effects. Which is always a positive.
Yeah, especially when people just throw CGI and it just looks horrendous.
Yeah, there's a part in it where tents are ripped up into the sky and stuff like that. It's not CG. That's practical effect, so I'll always applaud that you're willing to do that.
Rig it all up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've gone for sarcastic ones now.
I've got some sarcastic ones.
I found the positives really hard to find. So the convenient way the camera falls in the last part in the tunnels. So the camera always seems to fall in good angles to catch the action. So it never falls and breaks or falls against the wall.
Yeah, it falls perfectly, so we can see her crawling and struggling through the tunnel.
Yeah, it's that's
convenient.
Yeah, so I find that as a
I am using a high-powered video camera here, and so on for this. I'm 99% sure if I just threw this the way they do there, it's not going to be okay.
No.
You treat these things when you spent thousands on it. You kind of treat these things with love and care.
Yeah.
But there you go. I do actually have a few positive ones still.
Okay.
This is a stretch though. The acting overall isn't terrible.
Yeah.
And the reason why I'll say isn't terrible because I actually think they are pretty fucking bad at times. The characters are fucking shit. The characters are shit. Shit. Oh my god. When I get to the hate, I'm going to lose my crap about certain behaviour.
Yeah.
But the characters are awful. Very unlikable. Bad characters with very little development. So, fucking well done, guys, for trying to pull something out of that.
Yeah. I've referenced characters but in a different video. How they left the ending, so the whole don't look aspect, and again using the cameras as well. I was just like, ugh, really, jump scares.
Wait, is this a love?
Yeah, love is in. Oh, I love that.
Oh,
being sarcastic.
All right.
Because I found this film a real struggle. Yeah.
Right. Another positive one. Now, Blair Witch has a thread that I would have liked to see explored a bit more, gone a little more depth into it. Although it's done pretty well as well, which is the initial faking of events by Lane and Talia, which are the two characters, is quite interesting. It would have liked to explore why, because ultimately it's just kind of thrown into, we wanted to convince you, and then they're like, no, but it is real. It's like, yeah, but you would know once you're discovered, there's nothing you can say that will convince that. But it's initially an interesting idea. But unfortunately, I think I'm going into negatives again. I think it's initially an interesting idea. The faking the events by Lonnie and Talia is interesting because it makes you go, okay, maybe what they've been experiencing so far isn't real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I love that it wasn't successful. I really enjoyed that because it is, do you know what? You're trying to make a bland-ass film, hoping you cash in on the idea that they call it Blair Witch, people will flock to see it and love it, and it was a flop.
Right, I'm going to follow that up. I've had this one as well. Now, for me, mine's more about studios make you laugh. I also love that it wasn't a success, which surprises me, considering how successful other found footage movies are. But then this is exactly what I said at the start. By 2016, even a even your average audience goal was tired of this. There wasn't a hunger for it, and it clearly showed at the box office receipts. However, I love that the studios were disappointed with the final box office results because of the success of the first film. They actually thought they were going to make triple what they put into this, at least, or more than that. Sorry, not more, way more than that. Sorry, they wanted to see replication, apparently similar to what the Blair Witch Project made in 1989. Forgetting that it was 2016, and since then we were having found footage movies. By then we had, I think, 6 Paranormal Activity movies, and you thought, oh yeah, because it's, basically the studio was like, it's Blair Witch, that'll bring people. It was made 5 million. It made 45 million. So in theory, a £40 million budget, and that's a flop. Yeah. You made 40 million off a movie of 5. But you're like, nope, that's a flop. That you're an idiot. You're idiots. You're fucking idiots. And I'm glad you consider it a flop. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. How they develop the characters. I'm being very sarcastic. When you go into the characters, like more hatred, but just I'm supposed to like these people. I'm supposed to care about these people. At least with like the original, you got
some.
You got some sort of just a bit of an idea of who they are, like the control freak of Heather and things like that, and the other guy, not Josh? No, the first
Josh.
No, the tubbier one.
I don't remember his name.
No. But yeah, you got the idea of it. He was a bit of like didn't really care about the whole thing. But this, it was just like, okay.
The problem is in the original Blair Witch Project, they spent a fair bit more time exploring and leading up to it. This doesn't really do that.
No, you don't get any kind of that.
And there's also too many of them.
Yeah.
There's that problem as well. There is 5 of them, which is 2 more than the original had. Yeah. So you don't have a 3-way conversation, you have a 5-way conversation. It's not talking over each other. In fact, there's not. There's 6 of them. Yeah. There's 6 of them. That's even worse.
3 couples. So again, I know this is bleeding into like things I didn't like, but I've been very sarcastic. And other films I can find 10 things, but it's just so hard to do. And I find it quite insulting. I think it's like links into the whole the movie makers just going, oh, put Blair Witch on it, it will be a hit. So yeah, nothing much positive apart from the scraps, really.
I mean, I did actually try. Yeah. I put the effort in.
I did try. I did really try.
So my next one is there is the use of the drone. No, that's not the love. It's rubbish, and it again results in just these horrible scenes where you just don't really see much except one. And I think there's one use of the drone that has a bit of creep factor to it, and it's the initial sending up of the drone when they think they're lost, to send a drone up into the air and see if they can see anything. And it slowly rises, and it's a blanket of woods and forest. Incredible location for this. That, I think, is the one like, oh man, that's pretty fucking, like, if you're lost and you send that up and you can't see anything but trees for miles, it's pretty fucking depressing.
Okay, I'll give it a point back for that. Okay,
the only time.
Yeah, because it does. I do remember that shot now of you can't see an end to it. There's there's not even like a peak of a mountain where you can go, this is a mountain on my map. Or
it looks like infinite miles of forest.
Yeah.
I got one more.
That was my last one.
You sure?
Yeah, I had 10. I've gone through 10.
Okay. Yeah. My last one then, and it's pretty straightforward. It doesn't hang about, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. One of the positives when you're not enjoying a film is that it will at least keep the pace up and will get to its end fairly straightforward. I think this does. It doesn't take long to really get going. There are slow parts in it, and then we get to the end, and it's not like half an hour in the house. Again, there are some dragged up bits. The bit in the fucking tunnel takes forever, and it just ends up resulting back in the exact same fucking place anyway, so it's all irrelevant. But even at the end part where it's like, oh, don't look at it, that's maybe a minute long. Yeah. So, gotta love that. Right. Yeah. There you go. 10 things we love about Blair Witch 2016. Make sure you check back for 10 things we hate. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. You can check us out on gbhbl.com as well as on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter and Tumblr. Go to Patreon to help us out over there. That's patreon.com/GBHBL, as well as Big Cartel, where you can find some of our merchandise. We have a podcast running on SoundCloud and Apple Podcasts. And of course, if you like this video, do us a favour, hit the subscribe button and help the channel grow. Games, horror and heavy metal. What else is life for?